It was a cold February morning in 1984 when the quiet Baltimore suburb of Catonsville awoke to a mystery that would haunt Maryland for decades. The sun had barely crept over the rooftops when 39-year-old Oliver Wendell Munson stepped out of his small brick home on Edmondson Avenue. It seemed like any other Monday. He carried his briefcase, locked his door, and headed toward his car, a modest 1980 Ford Pinto parked on the street. He was dressed neatly, ready for another day teaching industrial arts at Ellicott City Middle School. But that was the last time anyone ever saw him alive. Oliver Munson wasn't a man who invited trouble. He lived a simple, steady life, a quiet teacher who spent his weekends tinkering with old cars and taking his students bowling. His neighbors described him as polite, dependable, and soft-spoken. His students adored him. And yet, behind that calm, ordinary life, a shadow was growing, one that would soon consume everything. Nearly a year earlier, Oliver had purchased a used 1973 Datsun 240Z from a local mechanic named Dennis Watson. The deal seemed harmless at the time, a fair price, a handshake, and a car he planned to restore. But what Oliver didn't know was that the car had been stolen. Watson wasn't just a small-town mechanic. He was running an elaborate car theft ring, selling stolen vehicles and fake titles all over Maryland. When police uncovered the operation in early 1983, Oliver's name appeared in the records. He was shocked, confused, but he didn't run. He told investigators everything he knew and agreed to testify in court. That decision may have sealed his fate. By February 1984, the case was closing in on Watson, and prosecutors were ready to put him behind bars. Oliver was their key witness, scheduled to take the stand in just 3 days. But before he could testify, he vanished without a trace. Before we go deeper into this tragic story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who love true crime mysteries. Your support helps us uncover stories like this one that deserve to be remembered. The morning Oliver disappeared, everything seemed normal. Around 7:50 a.m., a neighbor saw him leave home. He was calm, carrying his papers as usual. But when he didn't show up for work that day, his co-workers grew worried. Oliver was never late. By evening, concern turned to fear. His brother went to his house. The door was locked, the lights were off, and inside, everything was perfectly in place. His wallet, his keys, gone with him. There was no sign of a struggle, no forced entry. It was as if he had simply walked out of his life. 3 days later, police found his Ford Pinto just a few blocks away. It was parked oddly, facing the wrong direction. The front tire was flat, but there was no puncture, just enough air let out to stop the car from moving. Inside were his lunch bag, school papers, and a notebook. Everything he needed for his day at school was still there, but there was no sign of Oliver. Detectives scoured the neighborhood, knocking on doors, asking questions. No one had seen anything unusual. The days turned into weeks, and still no leads. But then, something strange surfaced. 2 weeks after Oliver vanished, police recovered another car, a stolen Datsun abandoned near Leakin Park in West Baltimore. Inside were receipts for movie rentals under Oliver's name, a spent shell casing, and bloodstains. The blood was type O positive, but without DNA testing in 1984, investigators couldn't confirm if it belonged to Oliver. It was a chilling discovery, but not enough to solve the case. And over time, those vital pieces of evidence degraded, making future testing nearly impossible. Still, suspicion pointed back to Dennis Watson. He had the most to lose if Oliver testified. Witnesses whispered that Watson had a reputation for intimidation. In fact, this wasn't the first time people connected to his crimes had vanished or died under mysterious circumstances. One man scheduled to testify against him was later found dead of a supposed overdose. Another was shot in what police called a robbery gone wrong. But there was a pattern, and Oliver seemed to fit it too well. Police questioned Watson, but without Oliver's body, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him with murder. He was eventually convicted of running the car theft ring and sentenced to 10 years in prison, though he was released on parole in 1989. He has always denied any involvement in Oliver's disappearance. But the cloud of suspicion never lifted. Before we continue, Make sure you hit the like button if you're still watching. It helps the channel reach more people and keeps stories like Oliver's from fading into silence. Leave a comment below. Do you think Watson was behind it? Or was there something darker at play? As years passed, hope began to fade. Oliver's family pressed authorities for answers, but none came. In 1985, he was declared legally dead, presumed murdered, but his body was never found. To this day, the case remains unsolved. What makes Oliver's story so haunting is its quiet tragedy. He wasn't a criminal or a man chasing danger. He was a teacher, a mentor who believed in doing the right thing. And it's possible that belief cost him his life. Investigators who revisited the case years later noticed odd details. Why was Oliver's car parked facing the wrong way? Why was the tire deflated but unpunctured? Could someone have deliberately disabled his car to stage a disappearance? Some believe he was ambushed, perhaps forced off the road, kidnapped, and silenced before he could ever testify. And then there's the question of the blood found in the stolen Datsun. If it was indeed Oliver's, that means he may have been taken far from home, perhaps killed and buried in one of the many wooded areas near Leakin Park, a place notorious for hidden crimes. Without modern DNA analysis from the time, we'll never know for sure. Oliver's case stands as a reminder of how fragile justice can be. A good man, trying to do what's right, disappeared into thin air because of a system that couldn't protect him. Decades later, detectives still revisit the evidence, hoping new forensic technology might reveal what 1984 couldn't. So, what really happened to Oliver Wendell Munson? Did Dennis Watson orchestrate his disappearance to keep him quiet? Was there someone else involved? Another player in the stolen car ring who feared exposure? Or did Oliver discover something far worse than anyone expected? If you believe his case deserves another look, help spread the word. Share this video, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more true crime stories that dig deep into the mysteries that time forgot. Someone, somewhere, might still hold the missing piece to the puzzle. Oliver Munson's story is not just about a disappearance. It's about justice left undone. It's about how a man's courage to tell the truth can be met with silence and loss. But maybe with enough attention, that silence can finally be broken. So if you're listening right now, take a second, hit that like button, share this story, and keep Oliver's name alive. Because every time we remember him, every time we speak his story, we take one step closer to the truth. Even now, decades later, his case file still sits open in Maryland's cold case archives. A name, a photo, a man who vanished while trying to do the right thing. Somewhere out there, the truth is waiting, and maybe one day, someone will find it. Until then, the mystery of Oliver Wendell Munson remains one of America's most haunting unsolved disappearances, a story of justice interrupted, and a man who walked into the morning light and never came home.